Tampa Bay Buccaneers have lost 11 straight home games going back to 2013, but they're favored in NFL Week 5 against Jacksonville. They're right now a 3-point home favorite. The total is 42. I'm Peter Loshak. You're watching SBR Videos, and we will discuss these lines with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. All right, Joe Duffy, I can understand why Tampa Bay would be favored here, right? Jacksonville, a lot of injuries. They have some positive signs, though, right? Their defense looks like it's improving. And it's some, when the secondary gets healthier, they could have a pretty, maybe an above-average defense. The offense is showing signs of life, but in general, they are a relatively weak team. And Tampa Bay, last week got hurt by turnovers, but that's been an issue with Winston all the way back from when he was in college. Tampa Bay -3. They haven't won since December 2013 at home. Should they be favored here, Joe?
This is one of those games that it's ugly to watch, and often the ugliest games to watch can be the best value, although I don't know if that's necessarily the case here. If Tampa Bay, they've been losing very ugly. All three of their losses were by double digits. Now, I know that, sometimes these stats can be a little bit boring, but essentially both teams have pretty solid defenses, but pretty bad offenses. Jacksonville gets 0.2 yards per rushing attempt and 0.7 yards per pass attempt less than their opponents allow, but yet they're allowing 0.9 fewer yards per rushing attempt. And meanwhile, Tampa also has kind of somewhat similar statistics, say terrible on offense, not so bad on defense. Now, remember our basic theory that Jameis Winston, young quarterbacks, they play much better at home than they do on the road. Now, clearly, the early returns, that has not been the case, but that doesn't mean I would completely throw that out as applies to Winston. It's not like this is, the 10th game of the year. Still think that Winston's a guy who, he's not surprisingly, he's going to have some ups and downs, but I think against a bad team and playing at home, granted, I did just say that Jacksonville's defense isn't that bad, but it's not like he's likely that he's going to be playing from behind where he should panic, etc. And it's not like Jacksonville's defense is phenomenal. They're just not necessarily the weakness of the team. I do think that Winston will probably have his best game of the year so far.
You think so? All right. So let me ask you about this, because last week, Sharps reportedly came in on Tampa Bay, and I admit that I followed that myself. And Tampa Bay got hurt a lot by turnovers in that game. You can't win a game, you can't cover a game if you have the turnovers that Tampa Bay had last game. And normally we think of turnovers as something that is correctable, but with a rookie quarterback like Winston, and he had those issues even when he was at Florida State, are maybe Winston's turnover issues something that we wouldn't expect to be as fixable as they would be with another player, another team?
Well, there is a reason that they're only a small favorite against a very bad road team. Like I said, I'm not particularly in love with this game, but I do think that Winston has that ability to bounce back. Look, we saw it really his final year at Florida State, where he was very good at rebounding from adversity. Of course, he hasn't quite shown it in his young NFL career so far, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Winston has been a total bust so far. It's still very early, time to make adjustments. And I think especially at home. And keep them now, by the way, the Jaguars are playing their third straight week on the road. I did look it up. There's no real phenomenal advantage betting against a team playing their third straight road game. In fact, what would surprise me a little bit, when a team is playing their third straight road game and they're off of an overtime game and that it's not a bye week, they're actually a slight advantage on betting on the road team, although nothing of significance. But still, you can see that the Jaguars, they're a pretty bad team, that maybe the fact they're playing their third straight road game, albeit in state, that could also wear down on them a little bit.
All right. Well, thanks for your thoughts, Joe. Tampa Bay right now is a 3-point favorite. Total's 42. Do you want to give us an official pick here, or officially will it be a pass for you?
Now, Peter, like I said, although that sometimes pretty opportunities come in ugly games, I think this is just an ugly game from both a viewer and a gambling standpoint.
All right. But at your website, OffshoreInsiders.com, you have strong plays every week, right, Joe? Tell us about that.
I do, and knock on wood, coming off the Monday night winner, I told you that it was coming down to Monday night whether or not I'd have another winning week. I did have Detroit as the Monday night game of the year, or I think it was a Monday night conference game of the year. But anyway, we did come in big time with that, and they probably should have won outright. But anyway, another winning week in the NFL, winning week in college football. Just visit OffshoreInsiders.com for the details. Still developing details what we'll have this week.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Peter.